because she was picking up on my energy. And as I healed my trauma, this dog became so much more peaceful and was a whole different dog, just like I had become this whole different person. And this is what I want people to experience, not only within themselves, but so often our animals are mirroring what's going on inside of us. And then when we can work on ourselves, our animals change along with us. And then we have more peace and harmony within that relationship.
Yeah, every relationship.
Our
animals,
you're right,
our
yes.
children, our partners, our family.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
If you feel like that's what you want to do.
Hello, welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive with Karen Swain. So wonderful as always to be with you again. I have the most delightful person to introduce you to. Her name is Barbara Techel. Now, if I said your name right?
Techel.
Techel, not Techel, Barbara Techel. And Barbara, we were just having a yak before I turned the recording on, found her empowerment and enlightenment through her journey with animals.
That's exactly right. Yep.
So we're going to learn more about her story and get into some healing and what it takes to be empowered and healing. Let me read Barbara's bio. Animals have been some of Barbara's greatest teachers and healers since she set out on a personal quest to understand who she truly is, but beyond the mind, body, and personality. The guidance and wisdom she received from dogs led her into the fascinating and supportive world of metaphysics. As she journeyed along her expedition, it was a wolf, a snake, a horse, a pint-sized dachshund, plus a dream, insights from oracle cards, listening to her intuition and embracing ritual and ceremony, which finally had her arrive at the understanding of her true self-worth and that she is worthy just the way she is. She says, this is what she wrote to me. It's not part of your bio, but I just loved it, so I put it in here. This is what you wrote to me in the email. I wish to inspire others to the potential to heal and understand their past woundings are a gift that provide them with many strengths, to let people know that animals are some of our greatest teachers, often serving as a mirror to what we most need to heal within ourselves. I wish to help people understand that the turmoils in our lives are truly happening for us and not to us, and it is meant to help us thrive and evolve. And the way to lasting peace is by continuing to do the inner work. By observing the outer world, we see the clues of what we need to heal within. As we heal what needs healing, which the animals on our planet are so desperately want for us. When we heal, the animals heal, and we can come back into more balance and harmony and have a harmonious existence. Today, Barbara serves as an oracle guide with 2 signature readings, Wisdom in Pause, readings for pets and people experiencing pet caregiver burden, feeling anxious around negative behaviors, separation anxiety issues, and grieving of a loss of a pet, and Wisdom in Pause for women wishing to journey inward and understand more fully the subconscious patterns which keep you stuck. Okay, you've got a few books happening. I'm Just Fine the Way I Am, Healing Emotional Pain Through the Wisdom of Animals and Oracles. Wisdom Found in Pause, Josie's Gift?
Joey's Gift.
Joey's Gift. Oh, okay. Joey's Gift. Who's Joey?
Little dachshund I had.
Oh, it's the dachshund.
Yep.
Through Frankie's Eyes, a woman's journey to her authentic self, and the dog on the wheels who led the way. Is that the dachshund?
Another dachshund.
That's another one.
3 special needs dachshunds that each have their own book and what they taught me. Yep.
And then a children's book, Frankie, the walk and roll dog, and Frankie, the walk and roll therapy dog, visits Libby's house. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so what was happening? Like, what put you on this journey?
Oh my gosh. That little dog on wheels. Yeah, and Frankie was a girl, actually. Her real name was Francesca. And I do have to just take a step back. It really, my very first dog, Cassie Jo, who was a chocolate lab, she's the one that started me on the journey. And in the big picture, source, God, how universe, however you define it, put dogs in my path to start to begin to look at how I really wanted to live my life. And that chocolate lab, she had been diagnosed with bone cancer when she was 9.5 years old. And I just remember watching her one day playing outside. It was terminal. There was no cure. And she's just romping through the yard, happy as could be. Her ears are flying in the wind. And I was blown away by that. And I thought, how can she be living so happily when she's going to die soon? And that just started the path. And after Cassie Jo passed away, it was 9 months later so universe had to really, I'm the type of person, I have to have like a 2x4 put up against my head before I get things in life. And then my next dachshund would become paralyzed and end up in a wheelchair. And that really, I had been starting to explore in my life near the end of Cassie Jo's life. What did I really want for my life? I wanted to, make a difference in the world. I wanted to make a difference in my own life. And I've just always had this connection with animals. And that's when I decided to become a writer. And that started back in 2005. And here I am today, 5 dogs later, 3 of them special needs. And one of the big key lessons, especially from the special needs dogs, was, just in line with what your program is all about and all your interviews that you do, so often we're trying to look to the outside world to fix us. Or in my case, I was trying to fix these animals that, my last book, I'm Fine Just the Way I Am, actually came from my dog through an animal communication session who said, I'm fine just the way I am. Wow. Which was, and it was actually a reflection, and she was mirroring for me what I needed to heal within myself of a childhood trauma and vision I had carried with me for 25 plus years. And I was too afraid to acknowledge it for fear of the pain and the fear of being rejected and judged. So yeah, animals definitely are my reflection, my mirror to something that is so much bigger than us. And they have walked beside me so lovingly and encouraging me to be who I truly am.
Do you still have an animal in your life at the moment?
Oh, I don't have one right now. It's been 2 years. I'll try not to cry. It'll be 2 years in May since Gidget, my last dog. Gidget, my little Gidget. She's so beautiful. I love to share her picture. Since she passed, my husband's not ready yet. And that's been really painful for me at times because I just want to love another dog so hopefully soon. I'm trying to allow the universe to let it happen when it's supposed to.
Yeah, it'll happen when it's supposed to. So the traumas that you were experiencing were more the traumas that the dogs were experiencing. Like you, obviously, like all of us, we've got this subconscious limiting ideas that we carry around. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I don't think there's a human on earth that doesn't carry around that. I think that that's part of the human condition, that we come into density and then we take on all these limiting ideas about ourselves, and then we have to find ways of releasing it. And when we do find ways of releasing it, we do so not just for us, we do so for the whole planet. And like I've said, I think I said on the last show, the healers come to heal themselves, and as they heal themselves, they do so for everybody, because there are people that will just never look at that. They'll never heal that. They'll never look at it. They'll never want to look at it. They'll just try and overcome it by drinking or eating or more sex or more money or more fun, or just like, can I just not go there? Can I just not look at that?
Right.
Can I just not look at my shadow and just try and cover it up with something that feels good? Yeah. So the traumas were really more the dog's traumas than your own?
No, it was actually my trauma that I had kept buried for, like I said, over 25 years. It actually didn't come into my consciousness until I was 29 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So subconsciously, what had happened is I had been touched inappropriately as a child,
Mm-hmm.
which did not come into my consciousness until 29 years old. And it came as this flash.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so startling to me that I did not want to look at it. And for the next 25 years, I refused to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And it would come up, it would flash now and then in my mind. And I just couldn't believe it could be real.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I adopted my third disabled dachshund, Gidget, it would be about a year after I adopted her, maybe not quite, she would begin to have seizures.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I understood, she never did have seizures before that. And through the whole journey that we walked together, I truly believe that she was trying to shake that, to share that, to get that out from within me, to express what had happened to me. I'd never given voice to it.
Mm-hmm.
And she was carrying like that energy in her body, and trying to shake that loose for me to speak that truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I talk about in my last book, I'm Fine Just the Way I Am. And it really, I'm going to go to the part where it first began, because I think it's so intriguing. It's not just animals in our lives, but it's animals in nature. I really see them as oracles, because they reflect in their mirror things that we don't want to look at. And it really began with a dead snake. And I had a fear of snake, like many people do. Now, I don't think I just didn't really want to be near them. I could kind of look at a picture of them, and I would one day find a dead snake behind my car, just off the driveway. And it was a mama snake. And 4 of her babies, and they were all dead, like I said, and the babies were dead. There was 2 near her and then 2 further away. And I remember it was in the summertime, and I remember walking up to that snake and looking at her, and she was the most beautiful emerald green I had ever seen. And I almost started to cry. I mean, my eyes filled up with tears, and it was just so tragic to me. And then I thought, oh my gosh, did I run over them and kill them? Which was just really hard for me to even bear, to think that I had killed that mom and her 4 babies. So I have a friend, she's an author, written a lot of books about, animal wisdom. And I reached out to her and, told her what I found. And she said, do you want to dance with the wisdom of snake? I said, yeah, let's do it. Little did I know the journey that was going to take me on. And snake really is about shedding what no longer serves you. It's about transformation. And so we tried to figure out what exactly was going on there, what snake was trying to reveal to me and share with me. And it would be about a week or 2 later, she shared with a friend of hers who's a dream analyst, what I had thought was going on. And the dream analyst said, really wanted me to look at what it was I was crushing beneath the tires, like, your car, from my car, did I think I had run over it? And I remember after my friend shared that with me, I just didn't know what to think. And I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I got a stomach ache, and I went to lay down, and the minute I closed my eyes, that flashback came back again. And that was like, it's, and I still didn't want to admit that was there. I didn't want to say it out loud. And I think it was like 2 or 3 months later, like 4 months later, I was having a conversation again with my friend, who's written the books about animal wisdom. And it felt like just like out of nowhere, like I had left my body and I just blurted out what had happened to me. And I was stunned at first, but at the same time, there was this relief that I had finally let that go. But all this time, it was like I just couldn't believe it, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. And it was just too hard to understand that that could have been true. And then so like all these years, I'll be 58 years old this summer. All these years, I doubted myself. If you doubt such a powerful vision, you doubt everything else in your life. But that snake was such a gift to me. And I have tremendous respect and honor for snake now. And sometimes that's hard for people to hear too. It's like, how can you respect and honor a snake? But by honoring that snake, I'm honoring myself. I'm honoring myself and the gift that snake gave to me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful. So what did you say snake was about? Shedding old wounds, shedding old patterns. Yeah,
letting go of what no longer, I was being called to make this shift in my life, to start standing in the truth of what had happened to me. I don't want to totally give the whole book away, because I would love people to buy a copy of the book, but I always knew every time that flashback would happen, I would think to myself, if I ever say this out loud, there's two people I definitely want to share this with, and that was my mom and my husband. They're the two people in my life that have supported me in unimaginable ways. And I forgot what I was going to say there, because sometimes I get so emotional about things, but
this happened to me in a session with a client. She sat here and she was struggling with a lot of self-worth issues, and I saw her being inappropriately, abused by her father. And I'm like, oh crap, she doesn't remember this. Oh my God. Anyway, so I took her into meditation, like, how do I tell somebody this? And I said, and she started crying, and I said, what are you seeing? And she saw it too. And I'm like, oh, thank God. I didn't have to tell her. Like, that vision came to me, but it also came to her, came to both of us, right? Because like you, she didn't remember. She didn't have any memory of it. So she cried for about 2 weeks. Then she came back, and then we got her into forgiveness to the point where she rang him up and confronted him and forgived him and told her that, she just fast-tracked her evolutionary journey. And the joy that returned after that, it's like she had something sort of pressing on her whole life, like holding her down from her joy. And the joy that returned after that was just exponential, just letting that go and letting that out and seeing the benefit of it. Because, when traumatic things happen to us, we often can't see how that's serving us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You're making me think of and reflect back on the fact that, after I shared that with my friend, that it just finally came out, it would take me I'm trying to even think how much longer after that before I finally, I've been married for 36 years. I had never told my husband.
Right.
I had never told my mother. And I was terrified. I wasn't so worried about my mom, because I knew she would, embrace me. But for some reason with my husband, I just thought, and maybe it's a limited belief, and it's that stigma of, if you tell your husband he's going to leave because you're damaged, it was all of that was going through my mind. And then what if they think I've lost my mind, but it would be several months later. And that's, Gidget also had chronic health issues. Besides the seizures, she also had bladder issues, because she was At one point, she couldn't walk in her life, and they rehabilitated her because she's got a disc disease that's common to dachshunds, which affected her bladder, which I had to express every day for her several times a day.
Wow. Wow.
And that can, yeah, I did that for 13 years with 3 different dachshunds. Yeah. But that could often cause bladder infections. And there just came a point where I could not cope anymore. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was, taking her to the vet. It felt like almost every, 2 weeks. And I started to question, is this fair to her? Is it fair to me? And then my vet was saying, maybe, in a roundabout way, maybe you should euthanize her. She said, I can see how much stress you're under. But I couldn't see it at the time because I was wrestling with this other huge issue. But what Gidget was trying to get me to see, because I was carrying this burden that I didn't need to carry. It wasn't mine to carry anymore.
Yeah.
And I think too, first, before we came on and we were talking, I think so often talk about shame. You carry this huge amount of shame. And then you want to sit in victim mode, even though I never really recognized it till afterwards, that you do sit in this blame game and this victim game. And I can sometimes see it in other parts of my life now, like, oh, there I am doing it again.
Yeah.
And, different things.
Yep.
But that serves us no purpose.
I know. I know. I used to see it I used to think, no, I'm fine. I don't feel victim to anybody, but telcos, you'd ring up and try and get your phone, and they'd go from one operator to the next operator to the next, and they're usually in some, outsourced sort of Indian or Asian, like in Australia, sort of outsourced. And I would be victim to that, and I would get so angry and frustrated. I'm like, there's your victim. There you go.
Yep. Yep.
You think you're not a victim? You're just playing victim, instead of like, these people are just trying to make a living, working it.
Right.
But yeah, in the strangest things, we see where we're holding the distortion. Yeah.
Right. And as I worked with all of that, and being able to release that and just be with that and then integrate that, is I would come to realize that even though I know this is a hard concept for people to wrap their head around, there's 2 parts to this. I actually saw it as a gift because I believe in many ways it shaped me into who I am. Mm-hmm. My way of coping with that once it came into my consciousness, but which is part of my personality. I'm a very bubbly person. I tend to be very optimistic, very positive. But the other shadow, I wasn't dealing with the shadow part of it. I was just trying to be, everything's okay, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it too is I would come to realize, and I remember just having this, it was another one of those moments where it just came out of nowhere. I all of a sudden just felt this overwhelming amount of compassion and love for the person who had done this to me. Uh-huh. Because I realized that person must have been so wounded themselves.
Right.
And that was just, I swear my heart just burst open.
Yeah.
To feel that.
Yeah.
And it, that was something I never thought would happen, that I would have love and compassion for that person and just really be able to go to, I don't know what their wounding was, but I assumed there had to have been to think you could do that to a child, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. We were talking before we turned the recording on about a difficult client I had who reached out to me. She has a big story, and I could tell that she was really in the victimhood of the story. And she's reaching out to me because she wants to get over it. And yet nothing that was said, nothing that was done penetrated the story. And I was just saying to Barbara that, why bother reaching out to someone and not listening to anything they say? Because if you want a therapist that's going to listen to your story and have you repeat it, put it on repeat and go over and over again, I'm not your gal. You know, I'll keep you coming back week after week after week as we go over all the traumas. Not me. You know, fast track your evolution and put you on an empowerment journey. That's me. And there was something in her that wanted that, you know, fast track. Like, you can have one session with me, and if you get it, you can transform. But if you don't, you're just going to stay in your story. So what was it that helped you really get it? Like, go from poor me, I'm a victim, to wow, this was actually a gift.
Just remember before we started recording today, and you were sharing that about your client and how she just, like she had said to you, you just don't understand me, you don't get it, just so upset. Mm-hmm. And that is what had happened to me with my friend, she's an author and animal communicator, who's helped me in lots of different ways. And I had made the decision at one point I was going to put Gidget to sleep. Right. I really thought, that's the problem right there. I really thought it was the right decision. And I had been working with somebody else who was helping me through this as well, that difficult time. And I had left a message for him and said, yeah, I've decided I'm going to put Gidget to sleep. And just as I hung up the phone with him, now I'm trying to remember how it happened. I can't remember. I'm not exactly sure how it happened, but my friend Dawn and I ended up connecting. I think I reached out to her. That's what happened, because my other Joe, who's a coach that was helping me, he said, well, please keep me posted on how everything goes, because you've taken me on the journey this far, and I want to make sure you're okay. And I thought about that, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have to let Dawn know, because she's been there for me, and I need to let her know as well. And we ended up getting on the phone, and she more or less said to me, she really felt like I was making the wrong decision. And I remember there's where the rage finally came out of me. And I just said, you have no idea what my life is like, and blah, 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 blah. And you don't understand. And, you know, I was so mad. I mean, I was pissed. Mm-hmm. I mean, the rage that, you know, and we, you know, if you've had a wounding like that, you carry this rage that you're probably not even aware of.
Yeah.
But there it came, just barreling out. And we went back and forth, you know, over Zoom for probably a half hour. And she said, you know, I just don't know how else I can help you. And she just suggested that I just go lay down with Gidget, because I think it was going to be 2 days later that I had set the appointment up to put Gidget to sleep. And I remember laying on the sofa with Gidget next. In fact, you know, I didn't even want to hold Gidget at that point. I was just so angry. I was so mad. And I'm laying on the sofa with her next to me. And there just came a point where, and I remember having this feeling in my life that I just wanted to die. I didn't want to deal with the pain anymore. I didn't want to look at this shit anymore. I just wanted out, because it was too hard. It was too hard. And that was before I had told, because I knew in my heart I had to tell my mom and I had to tell my husband. And when I heard that in my head, that I didn't want to be here anymore, it shocked me. And I thought, who was that? Who just said that? And I realized it was me. The bubbly girl also just said she didn't want to be here anymore. And that shocked me into realizing, no, I do want to stay here. And I knew what I had to do. And I did it immediately, pretty much immediately. I didn't know how I was going to tell my husband. And I remember going to bed that night, and I've heard of people saying they just surrender. And I didn't know what that looked like, what that felt like, what the hell does that mean? But I did. I just laid in bed and I just asked God for help, show me the way. And the next morning I got up and I still wasn't sure. And then it all unfolded and out it came. And I finally, and, you know, telling him, then I went and told my mom afterwards. And how you said, you were sort of alluding to this before, you know, the fast track to evolvement and enlightenment is, I felt this freedom that there you can't really describe. You have to do the work and be willing and be courageous to do that work, to feel that, because there are no words to explain it. There are no words.
Absolutely. It's so interesting. You know, the power of positivity. And sometimes we use positivity to hide how we're really feeling. Like Esther Hicks says, we put a smiley sticker on an empty gas tank, you know. Like,
oh, I love that.
Yes, we pretend, or we tell ourselves, or we convince ourselves that we're happy, that we're positive. And I see that trap with a lot of people in the sort of law of attraction movement. You know, oh my God, I have to be positive to get what I want. So I'm going to like not look at my stuff and heal the shadow. I'm just going to be positive on top of all the rumblings inside me. Yeah. So the shadow work is so important to really to release it. It's like steam that's bubbling inside, isn't it? And when you said you lost it with your friend, you don't understand how I feel. That's like that cap that's been keeping that steam inside, like just like let go of that cap, and that steam just like comes out. It's like that anger and rage because you've not dealt with the shadow work.
Right.
Yeah.
And the judgment piece of it too. I remember saying to her, you know, I felt judged by her for my decision.
Right.
And, you know, I can see, I mean, she was very calm, at the time, it didn't feel like it. I thought, you know, I thought we were friends and blah, 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 you know, but I remember, you know, her inviting me to take a look at that. And, you know, it's like, why should I look at that? You're judging me. But, you know, the whole part of it was I was afraid of being judged myself if I shared what had happened.
Yeah.
What had happened to me, you know, and the rejection and everything that goes along with that. And it's so true about that positivity thing too. You know, that just really grates me the wrong way now when I hear that out in the world, because it's like, no, we also have to look at the shadow, because we don't look at the shadow, we're just going to spin our wheels. You know, we're going to just keep repeating the same pattern over and over and over. And when you become aware of your patterns, not that you're going to do them again, but you're more aware of them, and you can correct them. You can course correct a lot sooner and most of the time easier.
Yeah.
I feel that I have found. Yeah.
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 Wow. So you didn't put down your little Dachshund. You
No.
just...
Oh, let me share that, because this is the most beautiful part of this whole unfolding. Oh. So no, I did not put her to sleep. And as I continued to, you know, I released that, shared that with my mom, shared that with my husband, shared that with my family. You know, I would end up writing the book, which is a whole nother therapeutic process for me to put that out into the world. She lived for another year. And then she ended up with, she had congestive heart failure that went like that. And, but that year, as I came into my, you know, this peaceful place, this more free place, having released that trauma, my dog, I watched her transform. When I had adopted her, one of her nicknames became Fidgety Gidgety. She could be a very hyper dog. She had, I'm going to do this in air quotes because I don't really believe she had separation anxiety, because she was picking up on my energy. And as I healed my trauma, this dog became so much more peaceful and was a whole different dog, just like I had become this whole different person. And this is what I want people to experience, not only within themselves, but so often our animals are mirroring what's going on inside of us. And then when we can work on ourselves, our animals change along with us. And then we have more peace and harmony within that relationship.
Yeah, every relationship. Our
You're
animals,
right.
our
Yes.
children, our partners, our family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has exponential reach.
Yeah.
I've seen people, in courses change their attitude towards, oh, my brother, he's always angry with me and never speaks to me, blah, 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 blah. And then they've like changed the story and turned it around and found love and compassion. And then at lunch, the brother rings up and like, how are you? Like it's had this profound effect on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we change our own vibration, how it absolutely, because how could it not? We're all connected. We're all one,
Absolutely.
especially with the animals and the people in our lives. Yeah.
Right. And it's one of those things too, at least for me, maybe it's not for other people, but to actually, have witnessed that in another being because of what shifting my own healing, working with my own healing I needed to do. And what was fascinating to me, so I'm a pretty woo-woo girl. And I love
Own your woo-woo.
yes. And that's what this is all been about too, is helping me to step into that. This is who I am. And then I am married to a complete Virgo.
So he's pretty straight.
Very, very straight.
And logical.
But what was really fascinating is I'm witnessing what's happening with Gidget. And I'm like, is she really like, I could just feel this new energy about her. And at one point he had said to me, do you think, doesn't it seem Gidget's different? And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he said the same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, he gets it. He gets it. He totally saw it too. And then I think he understands a little bit more about, how I see the world.
Yeah.
So that was a gift too. It was, an absolute gift too.
I was saying to Barbara, this is so synchronistic because I've got a client at the moment who had not mastered any form of meditation before she started having sessions with me. Like meditation was just a hassle. Then she started meditating and started contacting all her guides and like during the sessions that she's having with me. And the one guide that's coming through that is like with exalted wisdom is the higher self of her dog.
Yes.
And she's having these sessions with me. She's telling me what this dog's saying to her. And I'm like, oh my God, this is gold. This is just gold. You can't just keep this to yourself. You have to share this, start a blog. So she started a blog. And it's funny when you write it all down, you think it's kind of like, it's like, it's boring. It's like, it's not anything, you don't think it's anything special. That's your critical mind coming in.
Yeah.
So she put a few entries in the blog and then I started sharing it all over my Facebook page and people are just loving it. And she's like, oh my God, people are liking this stuff. She's really shocked. Like, yeah, this stuff's gold. And this dog, this higher self of the dog, Morpheus is the higher self's name, is just sharing just such exalted wisdom that is so simple. But do you think that the dogs or the animals come to us as these higher souls and take on the diseases to teach us? Like, what's your aspect of the understanding of the dogs and the diseases and in your life? Do you think that the soul of the animal, like, what's your understanding of that?
Wow, this is deep. That's a hard thing because I don't want people to like blame themselves. But I do believe that we make a soul contract. We make this agreement to come together. My journey to adopting Gidget was not easy. I mean, there were loops to jump through, and it was, I kept thinking, what is this all about? But we were destined to be together. Do they take on our illnesses? I do think so at times. I think about what I was going through, way back when with my first dog and Cassie Joe having cancer. I had a hard, I've never really looked too closely at that. I remember that going through my mind, did she take on the stress that I was feeling? And I do believe there is a component to that. I believe that that can happen. But at the same time, I don't want people to fall into the trap of this blame
No, but I mean,
game
does the
either.
soul of the animal, yeah, but I'm asking the question, so my guides are just
Yeah.
piping in. Does the soul of the animal choose to experience the contrast of the sickness, the illness, before they come in order to teach the humans something about evolution?
I believe that.
Right.
I do, because I believe that we come together. Like Gidget had things to heal within herself also.
Right.
And we mirrored each other. We came together to heal, you know. In fact, Gidget's going to be in an oracle deck. Well, she's going to be in my oracle deck too. I'm working on an animal oracle deck, but she's also going to be in a deck by another friend and another author, friend of mine. And her card for that, my friend's deck, is going to be invasiveness. And we healed that within each other, you know, and I just, yeah. And I want to speak a little bit about that invasiveness, because I remember when, her name is Tammy, she came to me and she, you know, I definitely wanted Gidget to be in her deck because she just does beautiful work. And I've learned a lot from her. She talks a lot about soul agreements with our animal friends. I've taken a lot of her classes, which I incorporate in my own work that I do. And I remember she said, you know, I would like for Gidget's card to be about invasiveness. And I remember when I got that email, I was like, ooh, what? You know, no, I was like, no, I don't, that it, you know, it felt invasive to me. And immediately, as I started to sit with why that felt comfortable to me, you know, because we're always healing. We're always a work in progress, which I always say, you know, to my clients and to, you know, my friends, you know, and I write about that and blah, blah, blah. But anyways, what was coming up for me again was like the shame and the guilt of that, because in some ways I feel like I had, you know, was invasive to Gidget. But then I had to remember, no, that this was a gift, that we saw the wounding within each other. And this wasn't a bad thing. This is a gift that we're going to share with other people now, you know, through that oracle deck and, you know, through the book I've written about her, to heal that within ourselves. So, but you know, even after I had done all that work, and then to hear Tammy say that, I was like, oh, I don't know about that, you know, because it felt really invasive, you know, to my privacy, to my, you know, my wounding. But it was just another example of me being able to release that and understand really what the gift was in that.
Yeah. I know when you can talk about your trauma without having any sort of emotional hit on it, then you know it's really healed, like rather than trying to cover it up and be private about it. Like, that's my stuff, I'm private. Like, yeah, there's no privacy in my life at all. People will kind of go into this series listening to you, there's no privacy, you know, everyone's listening to you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, well, maybe that's a good thing in our world, as we're moving into a more telepathic society. Where does privacy live when we're reading where we can read each other's minds? Like, with me, there is no privacy, because I'm seeing you, you know, like you can hide, but I'm seeing it. I might not see the exact story, but I'll see the distortion. Even your happy face, you'll be smiling and saying, I'm great, I'm fabulous, but I'm seeing the energy inside you. So where does privacy live when we're all operating like that? There's no privacy, right?
Yeah.
Especially amongst empaths who can feel each other's vibration.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's beautiful. What else did I wanted to say? Okay, I wanted to say this about your husband. So you said you haven't got another animal because your husband's not ready yet. He's seen you nurse. How many dogs have you had now?
Well, we've had 5, and 3 of them were special needs.
So those three, they were a lot of work. And he's probably seen you go through a lot of emotional turmoil being their carer.
Yes.
And I just get that your husband's kind of exhausted because he cares so much about you. Seeing you in emotional turmoil is like emotional turmoil for him. So he's not ready to see you go through that again. But is there another experience with an animal that doesn't have to go through the emotional turmoil that's waiting for you?
Right. Okay. Well, you nailed it with my husband. Totally nailed it. And he has said to me, he just wants me to himself.
Right.
For a while longer. And you know what? One part of me thinks, oh, that's so sweet, and blah, blah, blah. And the other part of me is like, but I want a dog,
He's thinking that the next animal's going to be as much work as the last ones.
Right. And we've had this discussion. That's exactly what came up in the discussion. And let me just share this is I said to him exactly what you were alluding to. I said, and we did when before Gidget passed, and we really opened up to each other about how we were dealing with things, which I'm very honest in the book as well. And I had said to him, after Gidget's gone, I don't want to care for any more special needs animals. Right. I was exhausted myself, and they were all a blessing. This was my journey. I'm appreciative and grateful for it. And I had to assure him, I don't want to do that again. And so he actually had started the conversation. I would say this was about 2 months ago. And he just one night started talking about a dog sitting in front of the wood stove and being out on the deck with us in the summer. And then when I tried to bring it up again, and I said, because I'm thinking, oh, the green light, go, right? Woo! And so I bring it up a couple nights later, and I said, so, what's your time frame? What are you thinking time frame of, like spring or summer? And he wasn't ready. I totally misunderstood what he was saying. And he's like, whoa, wait a minute. No, but I said to him, I would really like a dog that just, we love to go camping. That's something we just started a couple years ago. I said, I want a dog that wants to go camping with us, just wants to have fun and be a really easy caring dog. I said, we can set that intention.
Yeah.
If we set it together. And, every dog we've had in our life, and we've had 5, the 3 dachshunds and then 2 Labrador retrievers. Oh, no, I shouldn't say that. The last lab he wanted, but all the other ones I wanted. And I just went out and got them because I wanted them.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to make this decision as a family, the 2 of us. We don't have children. We've always had dogs. And so hopefully we'll get there.
I just before, because I had that spare half hour, because I thought we were going to come on a half hour earlier, I started writing on Facebook, and I wrote this true visualization coupled with positive feelings or emotion is an exalted attribute acting in the human mind. When you consciously picture what you want, you are using a powerful means of manifesting your desire into existence. And that's what you were saying, like thinking about the dog you want, setting the intention. Yeah. And then as I was writing that, I was chatting with the mob, and they were saying, because everything that you can visualize is actually a reality that already exists.
Wow.
Right? So as you visualize it, you're tapping into a reality. And then as you put your focus on it, you're bringing that reality into this timeline, because time and space is, like we live in this linear experience, but from a higher experience, everything's already happened, which is kind of mind-blowing to the human mind that's rooted in linear, existence, like one after the other time.
Are you speaking sort of along the lines of like quantum physics?
Well,
when
I
you
guess
say
quantum
that?
physics is in there, yeah. But visualization is actually tapping into a reality that already exists. And then as you keep visualizing it, you bring it into this existence, good or bad. You know, the universe doesn't have any judgment of
Right.
what you visualize. You can visualize heaven or hell. But yeah, just that, you know, like setting that intention. We can set that intention to have a dog, and he's going to be like this and he's going to be like that. And yeah.
And then trusting. I think that's a big, you know, if you set the intention and then trusting that when that is supposed to happen, it will happen. And I'll share this other part with you that was interesting. You know, I have a lot of friends that are animal communicators and work with animals, you know, like at the end of their life. And I was sitting on a program with one of my other friends, and about, you know, bringing a rescue dog into your life, which I would like to rescue another one. And so I brought up you know, and preparing to bring another dog into your life. So at the end, you know, you could ask a question, and I brought up the fact that, you know, here I thought we were going to get another dog, and now he's not ready. And then I said, oh, I don't even know if you can help me with this. I don't even know why I'm asking this, you know, and I started crying because it was, you know, just so painful at that moment. And I remember she said to me, I said, I want the dog right now, but he doesn't. And I remember she said to me, but that's your agenda. And I knew it as truth, you know, and I just was like, but I didn't want to hear it, you know. And then she said, you just have to trust that when the time is right, that is going to come into your life. You set that intention. And I knew she was true. I knew it was true. I know it's true.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes I have a hard time trusting that it's really going to happen again, that I can share my love with another dog, you know.
Yeah.
But it will.
Yeah.
But isn't that so true? We put our agenda on it, and instead of trusting, you know, in the flow of life and what the universe is going to bring us, you know, we think, no, I got it, you know, I'm in control here. I'm going to make this happen.
I think where we get stuck, Barbara, is that we think about what we want, and then we make that the reason for our happiness. So it better come now, better come quick, because I can't be happy until I get that, whether it's the new dog or the new lover or the health in the body or the job or the house or the, you know, whatever it is that we think that we want. And as powerful, deliberate creators, we understand that happiness is, you know, is happening now. Happiness is available now, here and now. And so when we align with that happiness, we think that the thing or the dog or the person is going to bring us, we're now matched to that reality becoming manifest in our experience. But what I see with your husband is that you said, you know, when he started visualizing it and saying, oh, you know, it'd be great to have a dog. I can see him sitting on the deck. I think that he's totally getting ready. He's totally getting ready for the next dog. So,
I do too. I mean, I do too. And the thing is, you know, I love dachshunds. I mean, they will be my heart dogs forever.
But you're not getting another dachshund.
I'm not getting another dachshund. It's too, you know, they have that disc disease, and it's too risky. I can't, I don't want to go through that again if that would happen.
You're getting a bigger dog. I see a bigger dog, but I'm not going to.
Do you?
Yeah.
How about a mid-sized dog? I would like a mid-sized dog.
Okay, but bigger than a dachshund, rather. Bigger.
Right.
Not a great day.
But that's the thing too. Like, I don't really know what I want. So, like, what am I getting so upset about? Do
you think that the dachshunds that you've had, do you think that it was the same soul in each dog, or do you think it was a different soul? Did you sort of
I love that question. I actually feel that I did feel when I got Gidget that she had a part of the soul of Frankie and Joey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she was a combination of them, plus her own self that she brought along with that. And let me just say this about the dachshund. In my experience, in my life, part of the reason I believe that they came into my life is going to go back to the whole journey I went through that I wrote about in my last book. So from that childhood wounding of being touched inappropriately as a child, I had, buried that. So I would come to understand through, healing all of this. So when I turned 29 years old, if you think about like limiting beliefs and things we're told and conditioned to believe, I'm 29 years old. I've been married 9 or 10 years at that point. And I had said, I didn't want children. My husband said he didn't want children. And then all of a sudden I turned 29 years old and I got scared that, oh my God, now I never can, I better get going here if I want them. But yet I just didn't, but I didn't know why. And, caring for these 3 special needs dachshunds actually fulfilled this place in me of nurturing and mothering that is so much a part of who I am. And I think it was about a week before Gidget was getting ready to move on to the other realm, the other world, I would have another, I don't even know on what you want to call it, but I had this like moment where I realized that I had all this, when I was growing up, I had like a grandma who would say to me, when are you having kids? Blah, 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 and I realized one day that why I never did have children is I had carried that wounding with me and I covered it up by saying, no, I didn't want kids. And what was really hard, part of this healing, what was really hard for me was to realize I had wanted children. And now it was too late.
Or you just wanted to love like you would love a child.
Well, yeah. I wasn't destined to do that in that way. Absolutely. But I had to feel my way through that, and I had to own that fact.
Absolutely.
And acknowledge it and integrate it, and that which I did. I worked through all of that, but that was just another piece of the healing that freed me.
Yeah.
And I could look back. And I could look at the reason I had these 3 dachshunds is they fulfilled that.
Oh, absolutely.
Part of me that I am so grateful for.
Yeah. In the blog that I was telling you about from my client, it's called Wisdom of My Dog. She was saying that she had a family member that was really into Mother Mary. And I said, okay, because she was really tapping into all the guides. I said, bring through a message for Mother Mary for your family member. And she goes, okay, but Mother Mary didn't turn up. Archangel Chamuel turned up because the family member was having relationship problems, right? And Chamuel was this archangel of love and loving relationships. And she didn't know. She'd never heard of Archangel Chamuel, which is, I love that, like he just turns up and she has to Google.
Oh, no kidding.
Who is he? Anyway, and so he was explaining to her about how to help her family member, through the loving relationship. And then the dog was saying, bring me over to your family member's place so that she can learn about unconditional love from me, because she's learning about different facets of love through this sort of relationship she's having, but she needs to learn about unconditional love, and I can teach her that, and I'm just like, oh my God, this dog is so amazing.
They are
just so amazing. And I think that, when I had a child, I remember thinking, I have never loved a human being like I love this child. Like, this child is teaching me about unconditional love, because like a sick animals are a bit easier to care for than children, but a sick animal's probably not. Like, it keeps you up all night, it's vomiting on you, it's pooping all over you, it's pissing all over you. This is what a child does. And still, it's like, it's not giving you flowers and taking you out for dinner, and still you're loving it.
Oh.
And so it could be a child or an animal that teaches you about unconditional love. It doesn't really matter. The lesson is the same. The being might be different, but the lesson is the same. Yeah.
For me, definitely it's undescribable, that love, that you're speaking of, that, it is unconditional love that you get from them. And I can't even find words. It
And
just is such a beautiful experience.
And that you give to them, because looking after a special needs dog would take a lot of unconditional love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know for me, you know, and I know the reason I went through things I went with Gidget. I mean, there was a point, like I said, that was hard for me that was a point that was just so difficult for me. Is like, I was angry at this little dog for being sick, you know, and having these chronic issues, but it was reflecting what I needed to you know, heal within myself. And there was so much shame in that, because I had built this identity on, you know, my first little disabled dog, and I had written 2 children's book about her. I wrote a memoir about her. I took her to over 400 schools and libraries, and I had, you know, shared the story of her life and how she changed mine. And now here I am with this 3rd dachshund, and I am angry at her for having all these issues. And the shame that I felt was so intense, Karen. It was so intense. And I thought, if anybody knew, oh my gosh, they're going to just, how can you be angry at this little dog? But, you know, looking back, I realized why that all, because I had to heal what I needed to heal, is what she was trying to shake that out of me.
Right.
And she was doing everything in her power to make that happen, you know.
Wow.
She was she's still a gift. I mean, like I said, she'll be gone 2 years in May. I don't hear from her a lot of late, but that first year she was gone, oh my gosh, we were talking to each other all the time. And I've never experienced that with any of my other dogs, where I knew she was here. I knew she was helping me yet. And I think now she knows I got it. I'm okay. And so she's finally resting pretty peacefully, I think. And I'm happy for her for that. She deserves it.
Maybe there's another book there, The Higher Self of Her. What is she teaching?
Maybe. I don't know. Well, I think I do. I think we do go through that, you know, in the book. There's a lot of that in there. When
did you bring out the last book? When was it?
That came out last April, just as we were starting into the whole COVID thing.
So it's pretty recent. Yeah.
What a crappy time to come out with a book. But
no, perfect time, because people are staying at home. What else can they do?
Yeah. But you know, I think more people are open to reading about this now, about healing our own inner stuff. I'm not so sure they were at the time. But I actually just found out on Sunday I won an award for the book through the Dog Writers Association of America. Lovely. Called the Rio Award. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And I just so believe at my core that the animals are here, you know. And I think about, let me just first say, they're here to help us heal. I know that. I have lived that over and over in my life. And not just the animals in our life, but the animals out in nature. They so want us to, you know, live in peace. And we have to respect each other. And when we respect them, we respect ourselves. And I really think about, like, the whole year of 2020, you know, since, oh my goodness, you know, my dogs have, you know, the name of my website is Joyful Paws, which is PAWS, but there's a play on the word here. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tie this into 2020 and everything we've gone through. And then my dogs have taught me to slow down, to pause, PAUSE, to reflect, to listen to what's going on inside of me. Mm-hmm. And, you know, in all of 2020, has taught us to do that. Instead of looking to the external world to fix what's going on inside of here, it begins right here. It begins within each one of us. I truly believe, and I know people have called me, you know, I'm a daydreamer, whatever. I believe that's the way to peace. Yeah. World peace. I truly do. And I tell my husband I have to live to be 500 years old because I want to see it happen on the planet. And I'm determined to help as many people as I can. whether it's that, a relationship with themselves or a relationship with their animal friends, that's what I do now. I use oracle cards as my tool, and I am blown away every time I just want to share a little bit about that because I'm so passionate about it, and I love when these things happen. When I do oracle readings for people and their animal friends, it's a different way of connecting with the animal. And at the last card I pull is always a message from the animal. And every stinking time, it is so profound, but so simple. And it ties into the whole aspect of what we were talking about. So that's why when I said, I see animals as oracles, because oracle cards are just reflecting that energy also, like our animals are doing for us. And so I'm just, I'll share, I had one client where her dog, 14 years old, and I have permission to share this story, Jessica and Max. And the lab is 14 years old, and he's, he struggles to walk. And I remember she said to me, it really unnerves me when I see that happen. And I really picked up on that. I thought, why does that bother her so much? So as we did the reading, what would transpire during that is she had been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease just the year before. And she was struggling within her own self of trying to accept that she had to move through her days, as a mom with 2 young children and a full-time business that she has. She was really struggling with accepting that. And, in a way it unnerved her that she had to be that way when she didn't want to be that way. And so that's what the whole reading had revealed. And at the end, when I pulled the specific card just from the message from Max, I have it sitting here in front of me because we both were just like, our hearts just flew open. The message on the card was acceptance and loving what is. And I think that's such a beautiful example of animals too. It's just loving what is, loving what is right there in our presence as a gift that is helping us to evolve and expand and to be better human beings. That is what they teach us so beautifully as well.
Radical acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm thinking of the cats, I've got a cat and the next door neighbor's got a cat, and we feed each other's cats when we're away or whatever. And she's very fussy about the cat being fed on time at exactly the same time. But I'm like, cats have just such, if they don't get fed exactly, they've got acceptance. They can complain. You can turn your cat or your animal into a whining, whinging. But on the whole, they're so accepting of what is. Yeah. My poor cat, I had a cat for 20 years who died peacefully, and then this one turned up 4 weeks later. And that cat went through so many, I remember I moved in with this woman who had a couple of little dogs. She was going to move out and I was going to take over the lease of the house. She didn't end up moving out, but the cat couldn't even live inside the house. It had to live on the roof of the next door neighbours. I had to feed it out the window because it was too frightened to come into the house because the dogs would be like, and I'm like, that poor cat went through so many house changes and so many changes, completely accepting, completely didn't complain. Radical acceptance. Loving.
Animals definitely teach us that, don't they? Absolutely. Anything that's happening in our lives, there's a root cause, there's a root reason to it, and if we can get to that place, and look, it took me till I was 55 years old to finally get to that place, but hallelujah, I got there,
Absolutely. Absolutely. But, I think the earth is going through its shadow experience, because what is hidden will be revealed. We can stick a happy smile over an empty gas tank, but eventually the car's going to run out of gas. Right. Eventually the car's going to stop running. And that's happening globally at the moment. There's so much coming up to the surface that's been hidden corruption and distortion. And yeah, like planet Earth is doing its shadow work at the moment. And
I definitely feel that too.
And there are beings that are trying to stick the happy smile on and say, no, everything's going to be all right. Just take the vaccine and everything's going to go back to normal. Like trying to stick that happy, like trying to push down what's actually happening. So
it's like we have to see the darkness in order for the light to be exposed. I mean, we can't, there's no other way to do it. We have to be willing to look at that darkness, and we have to be willing, I've had this discussion with my mom. I have a very close relationship with her, and we can talk about just about anything. And I feel like I'm one of those people that used to do that, put the happy sticker on the empty gas tank. And because I couldn't believe that there really was evil in the world, or that there were bad things, but there are. And the only way to heal it is to see it and to acknowledge that it's there.
And to see it through the eyes of source too. I think Paul Selleck's guide say it so beautifully, is something like when you look upon it through, I always get the words wrong. I understand the concept. When you see it through the eyes of wisdom, when you can see the reason, this is very much the work I do with people, when you can see the reason why it existed, what you learned from it. And you said that so beautifully. It kept you focused on your journey. It taught you compassion. It taught you how to forgive. There were so many benefits from going through this traumatic experience. It made you the person you are today. It helps you help others. There's so many benefits. So if you can see the divinity in the distortion, your focus on the divinity in the distortion absolutely transmutes the energy. Like as you look upon it with love and say thank you, gratitude, it just disappears. And I think that that's such a powerful lesson that we all need to remember, because we're looking on what's happening with disgust and resistance, and no, I don't want this. And I'm seeing this in the spiritual community, as they roll out vaccines and they do all this sort of stuff. Everyone's fighting against what is, instead of looking on it like, why is it happening? What's the benefit? Looking at it through divine wisdom and seeing
what's the bigger perspective, right? There is and I get caught up in it too. I mean, I'm a human being. Sometimes I just get, and then I go back to that. Okay, Barb, remember, there's a bigger plan in place here. There's a bigger perspective that's going to help shift where we need to be, where we're going and where we need to be. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, darling one, thank you for sharing your story. It's such a gorgeous story.
Thank you.
I'll ask you to send me some photos of the little dogs, and I'll pop them up on YouTube. So for those people listening on audio, if you want to see the little dogs, go and watch the YouTube video. And
I'll definitely do that. I love showing them off and sharing them.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Any last pearls of wisdom you want to leave us with before we go?
Gosh, I feel like I have nothing more to say.
We've kind of covered it all.
I know what I'll say. Right before I got on the call with you today, I picked an oracle card. This is from the Spirit Animal Oracle. And I loved this card. This is a shadow animal, actually, for a lot of people. So I feel like it's pertinent to leave everybody with, which is spider spirit. Look how beautiful. But, think about everything we're going through in the world. We're all weaving a new story.
Right.
We all can create the story, and the world. The message on the bottom is make your dreams real. We get to do that. We can manifest that. We can make that happen in our lives. It's so interesting with spider, because we have to look at the shadow side and integrate that in, and release that and heal that in order to create the story that we really want for our lives.
So the shadow side would be the fear, like, why are you scared of spiders? What do they represent? What's the fear coming up in you? Because it's not the spider that's scary, it's your thought that's scary. Yeah, I
Yep.
talk to my spiders. We live in Australia. I live in Australia, as you know, and we are surrounded by spiders. There are a lot of insects in Australia. Cockroaches, spiders, snakes. Not too many snakes in the city, but especially in the outback, there's plenty of snakes. So yeah, we're surrounded by these so-called scary animals. Yeah, we have to make peace. They're not really scary. They're just animals.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just
If we make
reptiles.
peace
They're
with them, they're gonna leave us alone, and it's all gonna be fine. And yeah, I definitely have a better relationship with spider than I used to. Also, I would just like stomp on them, and now I do
Yeah.
the same thing. I just let them be.
I have this great thing. It took me years to buy it. I saw it at a market and I thought, that's great. And I didn't buy it. And then years later, I actually ended up buying one. It's called a spider catcher. So it's like filaments of plastic sort of string, plastic. I can't even think. Anyway, and so it looks like that. And it's got a handle on it and it picks up the spider really gently. And you just
nice.
take the spider outside and you release the thing and it lets go and it doesn't hurt the spider. So
I like that.
yeah, we get some
Yeah.
really big spiders here. Some really.
I can imagine. I
went to bed
probably-
the other night and there was a spider on the bedroom wall and I just looked at it. He was little. He was a huntsman, but he was a little huntsman. Like some of them are as big as your hand,
Yeah.
And I just looked at him and I said, well, have a nice time catching the mosquitoes in my bedroom tonight. I went to bed and I thought,
Oh, I love
I
that.
hope you don't crawl over my face in the middle of the night. But I didn't even bother taking him outside. I just said, thanks for being there. But yeah. Make peace with the spiders. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much, Karen. I love your interviews you do, and I'm just honored to have been to be able to talk to you today. So thank you so much.
Wasn't that delightful? I just loved that conversation with Barbara. We chatted for like so much more afterwards, sharing stories about the cat and the dog. And I was saying how my brother, we didn't have any cats or dogs when we grew up. My parents didn't want any animals. And my dad found a little white mouse in the car one day as the three children, when we were little, getting into the car, and we were so starved for animals. We're like, please, can we keep it? Please, please, please. And we kept it, this little white mouse, and it grew into this enormous white rat. But anyway, we still loved it until I think Mum got over it. And then, I don't know what she did with the rat. Who knows? He disappeared, went to rat heaven, what parents do with animals that they don't want anymore. But my brother was in his 50s when he got his first dog, and I saw that dog completely transform this man more than the children did. Having children softened his heart, but the dog even more so softened his heart. So beautiful, so beautiful. Animals are such a gift, aren't they? Don't you love them? I love them. They're beautiful. My cat is normally crawling all over me. She's not today, or he's not today. It's a boy. I don't know where he is. He's outside playing. But yeah, that was gorgeous. I have to read her book now. I haven't read her book, but sounds like a great book. And if you want to check out that blog from my client, it's called Wisdom from My Dog. I'll put it in the description for this show for you to check out. The higher self, wisdom of the higher self of her dog. It's such a delightful blog. I'm just loving it. I can't wait for the next installment. Like, when's the next one? When's the next one? She's great. I've become a big fan. And let me know about your animals in the comments. What animal transformed your life or healed you, helped heal you? They're such amazing animals, so amazing. I often wonder, as we evolve into a new experience on planet Earth and violence becomes less of a thing, I wonder how the animals evolve. Because a lot of teachers, especially teachers like Esther Hicks, Abraham Teachings, say, animals will always eat animals even when humans don't, like when we talk about vegetarianism. But I wonder, as we evolve, will that still happen? Do you think animals will still chase each other and eat each other? And it's kind of violent watching a tiger devour a deer or an elk or something. I was watching something on YouTube and there were these buffalo crossing a dirt road somewhere. And then this cheetah had grabbed a baby one and was dragging it across the road, and all these buffalo were chasing after it, trying to save this baby buffalo in the cheetah's mouth. Leopard. It was a leopard, had spots in the leopard's mouth. It seems kind of quite violent, doesn't it? I wonder if that will happen, or if animals will start eating more vegetables, they'll keep eating each other. It's a thought. Anyway, what do you think? Yes, I loved that show. Who's coming up? I don't know, a few people coming up. It's great to be back on the back with the shows. Who's coming up next week? I've got some angels coming up next week. Valerie Barrows coming, talking about, she wrote the book Ultra Ringa, talking about the beginnings of Earth and human evolution. That should be fascinating. She's in her 80s now, Valerie. Jacob Cooper, I think he had another NDE. Dr. Lynn Morell, who's a beautiful spiritual teacher. She's got a lot of things to share. Yeah, there's quite a few people coming up. And Michael Tamura is coming in this weekend to the Inner Sanctum. I don't know, if you watch my shows, you'll know that he's one of my favorite all-time teachers. He's just an exalted spiritual teacher here on earth. All homage to Michael. I just really respect his wisdom and his access to wisdom. It's just amazing. So he's coming into the Inner Sanctum as our guest teacher for this month of February. And I'm excited about that. So if you want to join our online sessions, please do so. Go to Karen Swain/Inner Sanctum and sign up. We're online every week. I'm online every week teaching all sorts of things: psychic ability, talking to your spirit guides, deliberate creation. But with everything that we wish to accomplish in this world, there's, these rules about how we accomplish it, whether we're speaking to spirit guides or expanding our intuitive and psychic abilities or learning to channel. You have to align with the energy that you're looking for. You have to find the frequency to bring it into manifestation. So your doubt and your I can't do this, I don't know how to do this, I'm not special, I'm not psychic, all that pinches you off from being in alignment to actually be what it is that you want to be. So it's the same principles, deliberate creation, whether you're manifesting a lover, a house, psychic ability, or anything that you want to create in this world. It's the same principles, which we go over a lot in the Inner Sanctum, because we're so taught the opposite. We're taught that our effort creates what we want. We have to struggle and work hard to create what we want, instead of just being in the flow and in the alignment of positive energy. Because everything you want because you think in the having of it, you'll feel good or feel better. So find the frequency of that which you want to feel in the now, and you're a vibrational match to manifesting what you want. It seems pretty simple. Try living it. Don't try, please don't try, just live it, live it. Thanks again for watching. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, and remember to buy the book Awakened by Death. Bye for now.